My name's Neil Atkinson, and my favourite game of the season 2019-2020 is Liverpool away at Leicester City on the 26th of December. For me, the context starts right the way back in June when the fixture list comes out. I fancied Liverpool for the title after they came so close the season before, and when you get to see those fixtures you get to sort of imagine what the pathway is towards winning the Football League. You get to picture where you'll need to be when and what games will be big games and what games won't, and you also get to sort of work out where you'll be. You know, I'm not someone who does every away game, and I've never sort of pronounced myself as that person. I don't particularly want to do every away game. It's not something that appeals to me. But that game against Leicester, as soon as I saw those fixtures come out in June, I knew it'd be a massive game. We're first, we're a distance clear, but they're second in the league, and they've played really well in the first half of the season. Leicester, it gets forgotten now, but they were playing some very, very good stuff, and there was a feeling they had Manchester City and Liverpool back to back, that they could get something from at least one of those games, that they were challenging at the top of the table. I talk a lot about football on camera and into microphones, and I get a hell of a lot wrong. But all the way through the season as it built, you know, having committed entirely to the idea of no matter what it takes, we will be at Leicester. You know, before the day, Christmas Day, let's be honest about this, and I mean it with the greatest of respect and love to my family as possible, but Christmas Day to me was Christmas Eve. You know, it shouldn't be, and this is one of the ways in which we've got to sometimes wonder about our own behaviour, our own thought processes. But for me, Christmas Day was the day before I was going to Leicester. I was really keyed up before, and all day, all morning. I came to Papillon, which is where we are now, to meet Rob and Paul and to leave for it. And as we were getting closer and closer to it, you know, it's a tough ground to get to, Leicester, so it takes a bit of planning and a bit of preparation, but we got a really early start, and we were, you know, the roads were pretty quiet, and that was the big plus, because it's difficult to get in and out to Leicester. It's one road in and one road out.
We've been to Leicester a few times, and we've always had a bit of trouble getting in. The road that leads you into the city we'd found difficult. So we got there, we left with plenty of time. I think we met in one of our bars earlier in the morning, had a bit of lunch and then left for Leicester. So we got there really handy, because I think with it being Boxing Day, loads weren't travelling.
And we were able to sort of bed in across the city of Leicester for most of the day, and you know, with Paul and Rob, that was a really good thing, and it just sort of added to the build-up of it. It felt, because of the nature of it, we spent the full day in Leicester basically. You know, we had 2 meals there. It became this bigger and bigger occasion, this bigger and bigger affair, but it also is what it was. You know, it was that game. It was second versus first, and it was a real opportunity for Liverpool to prove themselves, and I was desperate for them to do so.
So the normal basis of our away days is that Rob decides everything we're going to do minute by minute. It's yeah, we don't get much flexibility where Rob's involved on an away day, to be honest.
I tell you what, Leicester could do with having a couple more decent boozers, it's fair to say. We just sort of rattled around a little bit in the end. And I don't mean that, you know, well, I do mean that a little bit as a criticism, but we went to one particular part, and, you know, as I say, we had a very, very good time. We enjoyed each other's companies, but there was a lot of us being in big rooms with big lights on.
So we get to Leicester, and loads of stuff is closed. Loads is closed, and I don't think we envisaged that. But we found a pub, had some lunch, and then went into a Brewdog pub or something like that.
And I'll not get too critical of the brand during this, but we ended up in a Brewdog, settling ourselves down there before the match, where we talked to some Leicester supporters, and they were great as well. And you know, they were talking to us about their players and their hopes and dreams and aspirations, and you know, they weren't thinking about title challenges. They weren't cocky at all. They were aware of the fact that, you know, being in a battle with Liverpool and Man City, that they were going to probably come off third best, and you know, they were honest about that, but that was nice as well. That again sort of gave the game that little bit of build-up.
We were talking to some good Leicester fans before the game, I remember, in Brewdog, and they were saying, you know, you guys are in for a game today. They had total respect and admiration for what Liverpool were doing, but they were like, this is better than our title winning side. This Rodgers is doing that good a job, and I was like,
the team was tremendous. It was the team I wanted them to pick. It was a team to go and win the game from a Liverpool point of view, and I think that's, you know, the most important thing. It was, you know, it was his first 11 that he could pick on the day to all intents and purposes, and you know, I wanted them to be able to impose themselves on this Leicester side. They were, you know, they're such a good side, and they've just become world champions. You know, Henderson's in there off the back of his heroics in Qatar, where he was man of the match in the final. You've obviously got Trent Alexander-Arnold, who has a great game from right back, but you know, just seeing him get selected again, you know, going right the way across the side. The team was, for that day, for that moment, the team was the team.
Leicester, I think Leicester are second in the league. They're the ones that are closest to us. But I think it was on that day really where I thought if we got there and got a result, I think that was it. And not in that's it, we don't have to win again sort of contest. I think we just proved our worth against everyone. And the Leicester home game was an interesting game, but the Leicester away one was a real measuring stick, because they weren't conceding goals. They were winning games. Vardy was scoring goals. They looked really good, and we battered them. We battered them.
The way Liverpool played was just so imposing. They absolutely got on top of Leicester. They wouldn't let them out, and it was the quintessential example to me of what this team's so good at. They are like a vice on Leicester City, and it's only 1-0 at half time. It really is. It's only 1-0 at half time, and it feels like it should be more. But Leicester have not had the slightest sniff of being able to create anything against this Liverpool side, and Liverpool have just grown stronger and stronger and stronger, and Leicester are beginning to wilt. And we come out second half then, and Liverpool then go into the next gear, and then they go into the next gear, and you can see that Leicester can't live with it. And after the match, everyone talked about Trent Alexander-Arnold, and listen, his output on the night is phenomenal, and his all-round game was excellent, but in the ground all I could see was that Liverpool midfield that just denied Leicester any opportunity to get any bit of a grip of the game. And for me, that was what the game did. Liverpool just absolutely, they cut the oxygen supply off to Leicester City. They cut the oxygen from them and left them with nothing, and then they ran away with it 0-4. You don't get many 0-4s. You get even fewer of them between sides that are second and first going into the game. That Leicester City 0-0, Liverpool 4, and that didn't flatter Liverpool, and it didn't excuse Leicester. They were left with nowhere to go, and Liverpool were utterly dominant against the side that were closest to them at the moment in the Football League table. I don't want to come across like I'm being a smart arse, because, as I say, I get a hell of a lot wrong. But before the game, I very rarely take the recording device that we use for matches into the ground. It's not something that I think of doing. Normally it's in the bag and all that sort of stuff. But for this game, I wanted to have the Morants on me, because I felt as though, you know, Liverpool may well put a show on. I felt as though in my mind, where it was circled with red ink, it was circled with red ink in the minds of those Liverpool players. I thought that everybody was there for it in that sort of way, that there was a possibility we were going to get a sight to behold, and my God, we got a sight to behold. And when it is Leicester City 0, Liverpool 4, I grabbed the Morants out, and I got Paul to talk for us to be able to do the post-match show and actually have it with the crowd in the background, as Liverpool have been that dominant as they've made it 4-0 against this team. And it was just fantastic. It was so evocative, and it was brilliant to be able to share that with people all over the world through what we're fortunate enough to get to do. And as it was all coming together, I got the microphone out, and I had Paul speak into it, and we both spoke into it, and we spoke about what we'd just seen, and what we'd witnessed was one of the truly great Liverpool League performances.
It's Neil Atkinson and Paul Senior in the away end, 85 on the clock. Paul Senior, this is one of the great Liverpool performances.
There's 85 minutes on the clock here, and I've never seen anything like this.
These are currently the second best team in the country. This is the football team of your dreams. Soak it in, take it in.
The feeling. I don't know, with about 10-15 minutes to go, was about as good as I'll ever feel as a Liverpool fan. I wrote that. Doing that bit of audio that we did for the Pink with Neil, it will always I think it will live in my football watching memory. I think just seeing us be truly that good, that brilliant that day was super, super special.
You know, in terms of my lifetime, and I'll include the period when Liverpool were last winning titles in that. You know, everybody knows about Liverpool 5, Nottingham Forest 0. Everybody knows about, you know, what those games mean, and the fact that they don't come around anywhere near as often as we all think. Everyone remembers in 13-14, Liverpool 5, Arsenal 1. And this game was in that category, it was in that company. It was that spectacular performance from Liverpool. I liked walking out and hearing the Leicester City supporters say, my God, what a team they are, because that's what they were saying to one another as we were walking through them to get back to our car. You know, there was nothing about, you know, there was nothing about 4 lucky goals or anything like that. They were like, that side's unreal. It was undeniable at that point for me. It was just undeniable that they were going to go on and become Premier League champions. There was nothing that could be any better, could be any different. They were going to go and become Premier League champions at that stage. They win the first title, as far as I'm concerned, at Leicester City on Boxing Day. That's the first title. They're going to win another 2 or 3.